Hey guys, what's happening? JC with Big Game Real Estate. Today I'm going to talk about Airbnbs and vacation rentals, more so the Airbnb. A lot of people ask about this because they feel it's a cheaper way to get into real estate. I'm not quite sure I agree with that. So let's go over a couple of different forms and then we'll do a few videos on Airbnbs. So first, we're not going to really talk vacation rentals. We're talking, and I mean like long-term vacation rentals, like you're renting out for a month, you're renting out for 3 months. I know sometimes people on Airbnb do that, but when someone says Airbnb to me, they're talking about nightly rentals, maybe weekly rentals. Okay. So number one, you still have to buy the property. All right. So if it's in the United States, okay, you're still going through a mortgage process, you're still paying taxes, or you're still purchasing cash, your US prices. So I'm not sure. I understand that sometimes vacation areas may be a little cheaper, which you may think is a pro, which it is. But my opinion is there's a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong. Heavy labor intensive on management. Yes, there are management companies that will watch over the property for you because you have to think if you have 30 days in a month, you probably have to have that property rented out at least 15 or 20 days before you're turning a profit. And that's probably 10 to 20 different renters. Okay. So when renter one leaves and renter two comes in, that property has to be cleaned. That's going to cost you a fee. There's Airbnb fees. The management is charging you a monthly fee, so it probably doesn't matter how many times you turn it over. But you also have to remember wear and tear, right? You may have 10 tenants for the month, and tenant eight might have stolen the pots, might have taken something. You may not find out till tenant 12 or 13 when they left you a bad review and said, hey, this place has no utensils, this place has no toilet paper, blah, 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 blah. Some management companies will take care of it, some won't. The other issue I have is safety and liability. And this is a big one for me. When you have an Airbnb, I had an Airbnb, I'll tell you a story about it. You have liquor bottles. We used to use the airport size bottles. But what I see even in Airbnbs that I stay in, and by the way, I use Airbnbs often. Okay. I think they're great. I just don't think they're great for me in investing. I think they're great if you have a place that you can't do anything with, you're stuck in a lease and the building allows you to Airbnb it. So you're minimizing your loss. Or maybe you already have a second home somewhere and you want to Airbnb it out for the peak times of the year because you're not there. Okay, I think that's fine. But remember, a lot of people tend to leave things in the Airbnb. They leave food, they leave alcohol, they leave drinks, and the problem I have with that is this: it's your place. You're responsible. You're responsible for turning it over in good condition and nothing to be wrong with it to the new tenant, the new renter. When the maid service comes in and they see a bottle of wine or a bottle of alcohol or a couple of Gatorade bottles, to them they're full, they're not dirty, they're not broken, they're going to leave them. Problem is, if something did something with that bottle or put something in it that they shouldn't have, and the next guy comes in and drinks it, and he or she gets sick, whether it's food, or he or she has to be rushed to the hospital because they put something illegal in it, okay, you're at fault. Okay. And the question isn't, can you make money with an Airbnb? You absolutely can make money with an Airbnb. But how much more money are you making if you have to buy it than just going out and buying a regular rental property, maybe 20 minutes down the road from your house, and putting one tenant in there? Now, there's a lot of pressure to keep the properties rented in Airbnb, especially during peak times, because some of the year it's going to be vacant depending on where you are. I would rather have a vested person in my property, meaning I have one tenant, he or she is there, or the family is there all year long. I know they're taking care of the garbage. I know they're not damaging the place. It's not wear and tear from 100 new people. 365 days in a year. If you got to have it rented out, let's say 280 days for you to turn a profit, you have maybe 400 people in your apartment in 1 year. That's a lot of wear and tear for an apartment to go through or a home to go through. I think it's just a lot easier to have one tenant. The check is there every month. The amount of the check. Unless there's an issue, you don't have to worry. You've done your credit check. You've checked to make sure they're employed, and they live there year round too. So they're going to make it a lot nicer than an Airbnb. If you were to go down the route of the Airbnb, you do have to look into things. Why would someone want to Airbnb here? That's the area, and then your place as well. I had an Airbnb in New York City. It made money for a little bit of time, And after a while, we rented it out one New Year's Eve. We got a really nice premium for it. We thought it was going to be awesome. And the folks who rented it out had a massive party. And the neighbors didn't like that. They were very obnoxious. They were very rude. They were very loud. They bothered a lot of people. And, we wound up getting kicked out of the Airbnb. Well, we didn't get kicked out, but they banned us from doing that. Okay, so now we kind of had this property, which at the time we purchased for the sole intention of Airbnbs. And that's another issue. If you buy something specifically to Airbnb it and you have a problem with it, and the building says, hey, look, this is your second or third warning, you can no longer Airbnb. We will no longer allow our doorman to accept new renters or new tenants or new vacationers here. What exactly are you going to do, right? How do you mitigate that problem? How do you solve that problem? Because it's just a website. And yes, most people are very respectful. But when you're renting out to 200-300 people a year, 5 to 10% of those are going to push the boundary. That's 15 to 30 people. Okay, even if it's 3%. So you're talking 8 or 9 people throughout the course of the year are going to be folks who either cause extreme wear and tear. They're really loud. If you have a beautiful place, they're playing music loud. Now your neighbor who's not Airbnb is complaining. It's just it just leaves you liable for a lot. And I don't believe there's a lot of extra gain. Obviously, if you have a house and you're Airbnb, again, maybe a little less problem with the neighbors, but same thing. If you do look into Airbnbs, we've looked at them in other countries. If you're looking to buy in another country, which a lot of people like to do because it's cheaper, keep in mind, if you're not from that country and you're a citizen of somewhere else and you're just trying to buy property, oftentimes you have to have a citizen of their country either on the note or the mortgage. There's different fees that apply to foreigners. You definitely should know someone in the country that you trust to watch over the property, because if not, they're probably going to rob everything out of it, or you're going to find someone living in there, because trust me, they know who's from there and who's not. And the other thing is, why would someone travel there, right? If you're in another country, what is it about your place and what it is about that area? And you're also subject to the economic stability of that area. So again, is there a way to make money? Sure. If you're doing a huge, massive deal, and you're buying a site and you're doing a development with 10 properties, that's something totally different. I'm talking about the guys who are going out trying to buy a condo because, and Airbnb it, every other day because they think they can get away with cheap furniture, and it's not going to be a big deal. It might work out that way. In my experience, that's a horrible way to do it. I know people who make a living off Airbnbs. They have a system. I know guys who rent apartments and then Airbnb it. I'm not talking about that because that's something totally different. Obviously, if you're leasing an apartment and you're Airbnbing it, it's going to be a lot less upfront cost than purchasing a property. It still leaves you very liable in all of the safety concerns, but obviously you're not spending an initial cash injection of 20, 30, 40, $50,000. I would much rather find a really good deal where I live or close to where I live or in a market that I know. And if I didn't have the money for the down payment, use the tips and the tricks that I've given a lot of videos about and call a guy like me and get an investor who's interested and get him or her to put the money down, and maybe you kind of property manage it, or you find the tenant, etc. Again, guys, it's just my opinion on Airbnb. There are people that make money with it. I'm personally not a fan. The choice is always yours. Talk to you soon. See you guys in the next one.